What's up, everybody? This is Saiyan Z3. I'll be doing a video response to the Saiyan Elite's video of the greatest shonen of all time. Okay, so this might be a controversial, might be a very controversial video, but I guess I can start this off by throwing out my candidates for greatest shonen, and I'm gonna do my best to make a case for each. Okay. So, okay, I mean, if you guys know me, I'm already gonna put Dragon Ball on there. I'm gonna put YuYu Hakusho on there. I'm gonna put Rurouni Kenshin on there. I'm gonna put Fist of the North Star on there. I'm putting Saint Seiya on there. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is another one, so that's 6 so far. Fullmetal Alchemist is another one. Hajime no Ippo is another one. Um, Shaman King is another one. Code Geass is another one, and then One Piece and Hunter x Hunter, depending on what those two. I'm gonna put them on there because they aren't finished, but considering what those two do in the future, I'll just put them on there. So that's 12 series, okay, and I have to make a case for each one of them, okay. I'll probably spend my time the longest on DBZ, Hakusho, and Kenshin. Then everything after that I can sort of like group together, just because I'll pretty much have explained all my thoughts like in the previous 3 series, okay. So anyway, for why I think DBZ or Dragon Ball should be a candidate for best shonen is, one, if I was to take off the influence and just look at it from a pure critical on how good this is sort of series, from a character, from a character standpoint, a plot standpoint, an action standpoint, a likability, all the things that the rising action, falling action sort of things. I think each of those are range from okay to excellent. I don't think there's ever a terrible or average point in the series in terms of um in terms of how good it is. I think the plot of Dragon Ball, even though many people like to not bash on it, but just say it's simple, I think it's a very underrated plot. I thought there was a lot of things in the series, a lot of plot twists in the series that we could never see coming, and that just really enriched the series. I can throw some things out there like Krillin's death for one, and in the early Dragon Ball. I don't think if you look, I mean, the thing is, we as American fans, we suffer from the fact that we saw Z first and then Dragon Ball instead of reading the manga series through or watching the first series through. I think if you guys go back and actually rewatch it instead of going off your nostalgia glasses and just saying, "Oh yeah, I watched it when I was a kid, so I remember everything," and instead of just looking up certain scenes on YouTube, you actually guys go back and watch the series, you guys will see what I'm talking about. But yeah, I think it definitely has an underrated plot. Like Krillin's death was one we didn't see that coming. King Piccolo and his connection with Master Roshi and the whole Mutaito backstory. I thought that really uh, enriched the history behind Dragon Ball. The whole fact that Goku was a Saiyan, Piccolo was a Namekian, the whole Saiyan Frieza feud, that really enriched the story. We would have never suspected something like that would happen. Goku dying twice in the same series. Not only that, he's dying at the beginning of the series, at the beginning of the most popular part of the series, and then dying in a saga where he wasn't meant to die. Things like that. The future Trunks reveal, Cell's reveal, Majin Vegeta. The fact that Boo could eventually become a good guy and stuff like that. The fact that he can split into a good and evil side. Things like that. Those little plot twists, I think, really make the plot of Dragon Ball very underrated and make it better than most shonens, in my opinion. Even though Dragon Ball, I think it's a good plot. It's not an average plot. It's not an okay plot. It's not a bad plot. It's not an excellent plot. It might be a great plot. I doubt it though. I mean, I just put it as a good plot. Okay. And then I think one of the best parts about Dragon Ball for me is definitely the characters and just the struggles and the decision making they go through. Especially Goku's decision making. I mean, the fact that he let his sons die in the Buu saga, the decision to let Gohan get pretty much almost killed by both Yamu and Spopovich, even though it was a dumb move on Supreme Kai's part. I mean, like I've always said, the moral of the Buu saga is that the Supreme Kai is a dumbass. Okay, but I think the decisions he makes like that, and if you go back to the Cell saga when he punches Gohan to stop him from saving Piccolo when fighting against Cell, decisions like that I think really add not only to him and his character, but just to the series overall. It really shows that he doesn't really let his emotions get too much in his battle. There's a sort of maturity to him, and that sort of thing I really appreciate in a character. Also, the fact that he was trying to find out who he was, the fact that he had to accept his heritage, the whole role from student to master, that sort of thing I really like about his character. And of course, Vegeta and Piccolo. I'm sure everybody knows about this. One of the best, two of the best anti-heroes I think I've ever seen. Their whole story, their whole character arcs. Piccolo trying to find out not only about himself, but the fact. If you guys can go back and watch my character analysis for these three characters, Goku, Vegeta, and Piccolo. Um, and just to get off topic a little bit, I got Bardock coming. I got Future Trunks and Gohan coming also for the DBZ character analysis. So be on the lookout for that. And yeah, just like I said, Future Trunks is another one I'm looking at. The fact that he was this he was this scaredy teen, sort of like Gohan, but I think a little more epic and a little more mature, who was able to turn into a hardened warrior of the future. You know what I mean? I think just his relationship with Vegeta and how it grows. The sort of even though he's only 17 years old, he quickly becomes like a very mature and polite young man. I think that sort of thing just really uh, 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 livens up the story. And I guess I can talk more about other characters, but I really want to touch upon Android 16 because to me he's a really great character in this in this series. The fact that he's a pure mechanical being and he comes to love something, I think that just because Toriyama doesn't really go for philosophical things like this, but I that little portion I think just gives DBZ one of its few more like philosophical situations, if that's what you want to call it. So yeah, that's an I mean, again, stumbling over there. I guess one thing I can say for the characters also is the villains. I think the villains, even though they're not necessarily morally deep, I think that they are very good, and if not some of the best villains that I've seen. Um, they're frightening, they're evil, they're ruthless, I mean, they just do so much stuff that just really puts them up there from at least in the good to great villain um, category. You know what I mean? And especially the henchmen. The henchmen I've seen. I mean, I've always said Zarbon and Legato Blue Summers from Trigun are the two best henchmen in anime slash manga I've ever seen. You know, so that just speaks. I mean, I really love like some of the villains in this series. They're really done. Even though, like I said, they're not morally deep, but they get the job done and they're iconic and they provide really good character templates for other people. For instance, Zarbon reminds me of Zazan from Hunter x Hunter. You see what I'm saying? Things like that. Okay. Um, and I guess I can go back to the plot for DBZ real quick in that I really like the brilliant plot device that Toriyama uses in incorporating both Hercule MB and Dende, who are non-fighters, into the final fight of this into the final fight of the series, at least in the manga. And the fact that they're non-fighters, and the fact that it's always like a team effort instead of necessarily always a one-on-one fight. I just love that about the series. I mean, the one-on-one fights are always balanced out with the team fights, especially in the Saiyan and Namek saga. So I love that. Okay. And that I guess sort of plays into the action, which is one of the best parts about the series, up there with the characters. Um, I think the action speaks for itself. I really like some of the martial arts aspects of this because it's not always like I throw a punch and I say, freaking Ryu no Ken, like Dragon Fist or something all the time. Even though Dragon Fist is a DBZ thing, but I feel like the martial arts, like you don't have to like every punch that or every kick that you had doesn't have like a some long Japanese name behind it, and I really like that. The martial arts, the fact that he incorporates ki into the martial arts system is really good too. So I like that. The dialogue, especially when it comes to the manga, is excellent. The artwork is many people. I think it's a hit or miss for some people because some people don't like the fact that Toriyama's artwork looks like in Dragon Ball looks like some of his stuff in other series that he's done. But I mean I don't mind it. I sort of like that because it sort of makes me see like the comparisons between these people and what makes a character look particularly strong or particularly childish and things like that. So I like that. I guess the biggest drawback that I could see in this manga is probably the side characters, their inability to win fights. I don't think they don't get enough screen time. It's just particularly the inability to win fights either on their own or with somebody. and the proliferation of the Saiyans and Piccolo to an extent. So I would say that was probably the biggest drawback for this. But I think in creating like a pretty good group of characters, a main cast, I think Dragon Ball gets the job done. And I think one of the biggest parts is also the influence. People feel that influence doesn't really play a factor into how good something is. I can see why, but I think I've proven on my own that the standalone elements of Dragon Ball are good, and I think the influence just sort of elevates that into a new level. Because it's like me saying Galileo isn't one of the greatest scientists for discovering Jupiter, or Isaac Newton is one of the greatest scientists for discovering freaking calculus. You see what I'm saying, or the three laws, the three fundamental laws of physics. I could say the same thing about Michael Jordan. I could say because he did everything and he did it well. I feel like Dragon Ball also does that, even though some of the things like some other series do better. Maybe plot, or definitely plot. In the case of One Piece, um, uh, it pains me to say characters because I think Dragon Ball has some of the best characters ever. But I guess you can say characterization as well. I guess you can even say action in some cases. But I think just as a whole package, DBZ is just as good as it gets. Okay, so I went for 11 minutes about Dragon Ball, so I think that's enough about that for why it's a candidate for greatest shonen. Okay, and I guess one thing before I go on to these next series, I realize it's already around like about to be 11 and a half minutes, maybe a little over that, but I guess I can do a quick recap on what a shonen is. Basically, it's something that is usually characterized by uh, teen humor, or early to mid teen humor with good amounts of action, um, and usually shows like a coming of age story and things like that. And it's mainly geared towards the age groups of 10 to 15, but I think that's been more broadened for for adults nowadays. So yeah, that's all I gotta say about that. Let me go into Yu Yu Hakusho. Okay, Yu Yu Hakusho has some of the best characterization I've seen in a series like ever. Okay, the characterization of specifically the four main characters, Yusuke, Hiei, or Yusuke, Kuwabara, Kurama, and Hiei. Those four are just so good. I mean, the backstories are compelling. The decision making that they have to do is compelling. Maybe not so much the powers. I mean, I've always said that DBZ and UU are very similar. Um, but in terms of like the moral complexity and the ethics of the series and things like that, the gray versus gray, Yu Yu Hakusho has a lot of that. I mean, in comparison to a lot of other shonen, and I think that's along with the characterization, the gray versus gray, while still managing to appeal to kids. I think that is one of the best parts about Yu Yu Hakusho. And of course, the action is good. It's a little more toned down. It's like a little more toned down DBZ with a little more um, emphasis on a drama, I would say, in a fight. I like that. That's what I really like about Hakusho, and just the fact that you can feel the drama in a fight. So yeah, definitely the action. Um, I would say that the plot is similar to DBZ in the fact that it's simple in structure, um, but there's only moderate plot twists in comparison to DBZ's greater than average plot twists. Okay, and that's one of and not to start like a war, but or anything in the comment section, but that's one of the reasons why I put DBZ over Hakusho for me is just that's the only one thing when I think about it, just the plot. It's just everything is so dead on for me except the plot of DBZ. I just think that the plot twists are just so much better than the ones I find in Yu Yu Hakusho, and many of them are similar because Goku dies twice, Yusuke dies twice. Goku's a Saiyan, Yusuke has demon energy, is demon blood. Things like that. They both don't know their fathers. Things like that. Really step it up for me. Okay. Then I guess so that's Hakusho. I'm really trying to rush over here. The third series I'd probably say is Kenshin. The main character of Rurouni Kenshin is one of the best I've ever seen. His quest for redemption and atonement is just really, really, really good. Um, and you can also it also balances out with another coming of age story in Yahiko. The villains are fantastic. Some of the best villains I've seen, especially in Shishio. Oh man, by far Shishio is the best. is the best villain in this manga. Um, then the henchmen he recruits are just amazing. Aoshi is great. Sojiro is great. Usui and Anji are great. I mean, and like I said, I keep going back to plot characters and action. I guess I can do humor also. Uh, the humor in DBZU and Kenshin are pretty good, at least in my opinion. The humor doesn't really pick up in Dragon Ball until I would say uh, 22nd World Tournament. YuYu is hilarious from the get go, in my opinion. And Kenshin, I think it doesn't pick up until after Judah, I would say. But yeah, definitely that. Kenshin, I just think his character journey is just amazing. It really is. Um, One of the flaws I'd say about the series though is that everything before and after the Kyoto arc just doesn't seem as up to par with the Kyoto arc, so you might feel a little like dragged out or a little more bored. I guess you could say the word. I guess you can say the word is. It's just that everything having to do with Shishio, like that's the pinnacle of the series, but then everything sort of waters down after that. You see what I'm saying? Um, though after Shishio you get a villain named Anishi, and you realize that his connection to Kenshin is that the fact that his sister Tomoe was Kenshin's first love. Um, I guess you can say before Kaoru. So, uh, I guess you can say the arcs by themselves. I guess maybe that's another flaw in Kenshin. The arcs by themselves aren't very interesting, though they are good. I think they're at the very least good. Um, so yeah, that I guess that could be another reason for why Kenshin is up there. Fist of the North Star, Sensei, Fist of the North Star and Sensei all grouped together. Um, Fist of the North Star I really like because it only focuses pretty much on one person and his character journey, and that's Kenshiro. Kenshiro and Kenshin are up there with the best main character journeys ever in shonen, if not manga. But Kenshiro is just so focused on one character. It's just focused on him like so much, and just like he is so iconic. The character template that he sets for like '90s action heroes, stoic, silent, badass, manly, masculinity, and epicness. That those sort of things, Fist of North Star really exemplifies, and that's sort of like why shonen is so revered by little kids today because that's who they aspire to be, and you can definitely think that Kenshiro is definitely one of those people, especially with how manly and how epic he is. Fist of North Star really exemplifies that. It's one of the greatest martial arts mangas and animes I've ever read slash watched. Also, um, very distinct art style. That's another thing. Um, Dialogue is a little cheesy at times, but I think that's okay. It might. I don't know. Some of the feats you see in the series is just so awe inspiring. So I guess that could be another reason. I don't know. I guess I guess I could go in tune with the action. And like DBZ, it had a pretty big influence on not only Japanese series, but I think Western series also, like Mad Max. Mad Max would be a perfect example of that. Or no, sorry, no. Wait, I don't remember if Mad Max took inspiration from Fist of the North Star or Fist of the North Star took inspiration from Mad Max, but yeah, I don't remember. But Fist of the North Star, yeah, just a big candidate for greatest shonen. Also, Saint Seiya is up there too. Saint Seiya is sort of like the If you guys think DBZ is being milked, I mean Saint Seiya is just being milked forever and ever and ever. There's just a big proliferation of very good main characters. It's instead of Kenshiro where it was really only one person, now it's sort of like more like One Piece and DBZ, and where there's just like a big amount of main characters. So I would say more like One Piece. And each of them have their own unique, distinct style. But the fact is like now everybody is like a saint and stuff. So if you thought everybody being a Super Saiyan was bad, I mean everybody being a saint in Saint Seiya is just too over the top. Um, the plot in itself is pretty simple, but the characterization I think of the five original saints, the five main saints, Seiya and Ikki and Shiryu and all of them, um, they're really good. They're really, really, really good. Um, and this it sort of reminds me of like the Odyssey. If you guys have read Greek literature in school or whatever, because not Life is a North Star Saint Seiya is very classical in nature, and that sort of gives off a very professional point of view. I get or no, that's not professional. Aesthetic is the word I'm looking for. Everything is just so classical, and they're just like the epitome of classical heroes. You know what I mean? And they're some of the best that I've seen. So yeah, definitely the characters. The action I think is definitely the best. The easily the best thing about this series because they're just so grand in scale and it's just so awe-inspiring to anyone who reads it. So yeah, that's why Saint Seiya is up there too. JoJo's would be is a candidate for the greatest shonen because of its originality and its uniqueness. Um, it too, like Fist of North Star, Saint Seiya, I guess DBZ to a sense is very old. It's very classical in nature, but it's had a very seamless transition into the modern age because of like the fashion sense and the aesthetic that the manga has. Hirohiko Araki, who is the mangaka for this series, he has a very unique art style. The art in the shonen is easily one of the best. Even though JoJo's is a seinen now, when it originally was a shonen, I mean the plot was just incredible. The characters, even though some of it was cheesy, and sort of cliche and sort of too machismo and over the top. Some of the stuff they do is just very again like very manly in nature, and I think that sort of thing is just really what grips people who love shonen into their series. The action and the strategy behind each fight was just like top notch, and yeah, that would be another reason why it's up there. Full Metal Alchemist. This is the one series where I just cannot. It's very hard for me to find a flaw in this series. I mean, everything is done so well. That the characters, the plot, the rising action, the climax, the falling action, the settings, the world building. Like, oh man, like, yeah, world building is something I didn't really talk about with the others, but I didn't think it needed much. So, yada yada yada. But yeah, I would say in regards to world building, JoJo's also has as out of all the series that I've mentioned so far, I'd probably go JoJo's has the best, and then DBZ or Kenshin had the next after that. But yeah, Full Metal Alchemist world building and just everything is so like everything is it's if I know I said DBZ was as good as it gets in the package, but Full Metal Alchemist is has a very good chance to be above that, and just how good everything is woven together. I mean, it really is just it really is just something you got to read on your own. The only flaw that I can really think of off the top of my head is that there are some cliches in terms of like the whole I got my friends and stuff um, and that would really be the drawback to almost I guess you could say all of these manga, and that the fact that they rely too much on like Nakama and friends and too much, but uh, Full Metal Alchemist, I mean it very well might be the most probable candidate for greatest shonen that I have on this list. It's just that good. It really is. You guys should go check it out if you haven't already. Hajime no Ippo would be my next one. Hajime no Ippo, with Yu Yu Hakusho's up there for like one of the best trends of characterization I've seen in in a shonen, and not only in a shonen, but I think in a series overall. I think One Piece could be definitely a series that can take from this, because the characterization in Ippo is just seeing them win, seeing them fail, and you honestly like feel for these characters when it happens. There's one character, one of the main characters that I don't. His name is Itagaki, and I really don't like him too much, but everyone else, just the emotions that this manga can make you feel, and just the life lessons it can teach you, to keep working hard, to never give up on yourself, and to realize when you're beaten and to just give up and things like that. Just really are. It's amazing what it can do for you. One of the drawbacks I'd say is that the plot is a little too dragged out. Action is by far one of the best. Takamura versus Hawk, which is one of the fights in this series, probably, if not a top 5, at least a top 10. Better than most supernatural fights that I've seen. Really great. Amazing. Oh, shit. Sorry about that. Amazing. Amazing. Code Geass would probably be the next one after that. Just the plot. The plot is easily the best thing about this series. Everything is so militaristic. I mean, there's betrayal, there's a plot twist, there's always that sense of mystery. Like you don't know what's gonna happen next, and who is this, and what's that. That's easily the best thing about it. Lelouch is easily one of the best main protagonists I've seen in the last 6 years since it came out in since it f- I think it came out and finished in '07 if I'm not mistaken. Um, but yeah, definitely him and his whole character quest a lot is up there with Kenshin's and Kenshiro's. Really great. It's also one of the first shonens that really uses the mech sort of genre very well, and the political genre very well. And it's besides Kenshin. I really like that, the fact that it shows political strife. I mean, Fullmetal did it too, but I just think the way Code Geass does it is just like really good. And the writing is top notch and excellent. Shaman King is sort of like Yu Yu Hakusho and DBZ and I guess you could even say Hunter x Hunter, in the sense that very, again, very good main set of characters. Action is pretty good. The one thing I'll say about Shaman King though is that if you guys thought dying in DBZ was bad, I mean, Shaman King just takes it to a whole new level. Everyone is dying left and right and come back and die and come back and die and come back and die and come back. I mean, that's pretty much the only thing I'd say about it. It really makes you hard to feel bad when you see the death of somebody of somebody happening. But the past, or the backstories and the past of some of these characters are just so good. The action is very simple because of the whole oversoul concept. Basically, you get a medium, you channel your ghost through it or your spirit through it, and then you fight using whatever object you get. So very very simplistic in that sense. But in terms of the different groups of characters that are introduced, oh man, you got Gandara, you got Team Hao, Team Funbari Onsen, what's it called now? Team Ren, the X Laws, like just so many different groups, and just like their ideologies and like what they believe in and their characterization. I mean, that's just it's really something to behold, and just to see how it conflicts with one another. I really love that about it. The dialogue is hilarious. The humor is easily one of the funniest things I've read in a while. Which brings me to my last two candidates, One Piece and Hunter x Hunter. One Piece and Hunter x Hunter, it's really hard for me to say like what's going on with them, because One Piece is very high low for me. Like it can hit or miss for me in certain arcs. Hunter x Hunter on the other hand is on hiatus now, but uh, depending on what these two do in the coming arcs, I could easily see it up there as one of the greatest shonen too. I mean, well, let me start with One Piece. One Piece, easily the one of, if not the best plot I read. Not I would say not only in a shonen but in manga in general. I mean, it really is that good. Just sort of like the character-driven plot that One Piece does, but there's sort of like underlying subplots beneath it that just really push the plot along, and I you really like that about this series. Just the subplots, you know what I mean, really adds depth and enrichment to the universe. One thing I think that needs to work on is probably the characters, because the characters can be hit or miss for at least for me, and they need to have more relevance and need to uh, 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 have more development and more characterization. I feel. I think he just does a good job of making them unique and of making them yeah, just that. Oda does a good job of making them unique, but in terms of implementing them into the story in effective ways, I can't say that he does it well all the time. I mean, the Thriller Bark arc, like Lola, I really didn't care for. Ryuma, I thought could have been used a little better. Most of the Baroque works, speaking about Baroque works, I might as well talk about the villains. Some of the villains are they haven't really hit home with me. I don't think none of them are like amazing villains. I don't think they're even great villains. I think some of them are good villains. I would say that the best collection of villains that I've seen so far in the series is definitely the Skypiea one with NL and his four saints. I think those are definitely the best villains. I don't think CP9 or Baroque works because the, most of the members in those groups were just not very good. Just to to put it bluntly. Another thing he needs to work on is definitely the action. I think he's got the drama down pat. Humor can be hit or miss depending on what you like. So yeah, that's it for One Piece, and then I'll end up with Hunter x Hunter. Starting a lot today, I don't know, but this and FMA I can see going down as definitively the two best shonens that I've ever seen the light of the eyes of mankind, if that makes sense. But Hunter x Hunter, just the writing is amazing. Just the shonen cliches that it breaks that have been set by some of the older stuff. I mean, there are just so many great plot twists. There's just so many like what the fuck moments. The characterization of the main characters, especially Gon and Killua, are amazing. The decision making that they have to go through is amazing. The humor can it can be funny sometimes and not be funny the next. I feel like that's just like a big problem with this manga, but other than that, it just breaks so many cliches. It really questions on really it's one of the best manga at throwing at you different viewpoints and learning how to take it. You see what I'm saying? Instead of just forcing it upon you. And easily like Hunter x Hunter just does that in volumes, especially in the New York New and Chimera and arcs. Oh gosh. And they have one of the best villains, if not the best shonen villain in Meruem. The plot's amazing. The main character, he Togashi does a very good job in utilizing all the main characters in different ways in this series. Especially if you guys go to the New York New arc, Kurapika is actually the main character of that arc, and in this coming arc, Gon might not even be in it. You see what I'm saying? Things like that it just repeatedly is starting new stuff and breaking molds, and that's got to be one of the reasons why Hunter x Hunter is up there. So yeah, I hope this video was as good as I hoped it would be, I think I started too much. I think I was just not coherent enough in my thoughts, but you guys will have to live with it, okay? So yeah, that's pretty much my video response. Saint Elites, Jason Todd, Marcellus, you got it. Yeah, those are my candidates. And like I said, if I had to choose two definitive ones, it would probably be, I would say Hunter x Hunter has the greatest potential, but Fullmetal Alchemist is probably the clear winner at this point. Now, again, it's hard for me to say considering I have DBZ, YuYu, and Kenshin up there, and then Fist of the North Star. But Fullmetal Alchemist really just doesn't have that many flaws. Okay, it's just that good. Okay. Now I'm not saying it's the best series ever. I'm not even saying it's the best shonen, but actually, let me take that back. I guess in some sense I am saying it's the best / greatest, but I mean, you'll be hard pressed to find another shonen like Fullmetal Alchemist. But yeah, that's it for me for Saiyan Z3. 33 minutes and 33 seconds, now 35, of, I guess you can say, somewhat pure analysis / critique. And I'm tired. I don't want to take up any more of your time. So thank you guys for watching. Rate, comment, subscribe if you haven't already. And hopefully I won't stutter so much in my next videos. Peace.